Now in the articulator, I don't know if you've got the newer, have you got the newer version with this orange button in there? You have. Okay, so we're going to name this upper, and then the other one we're going to name lower. And then we're not going to do the mounting table now. And we're going to, so if it's not named lower, it's not going to move. So auto set up default values. And this brings up the entire articulator, and all the components are here now. You've got the animation and the components, and you've got our models. It's exactly what we need. And how much do you want to open this byte? Do you know? Okay. So what we'll do is I'm going to reset this so that we've got the lower in a permanent position. Because right now what's happening, just grab my outliner, sorry, my timeline. What's happening, it's opening and closing. Okay, so I'll run through this from start. I'm going to delete the animation. So now there's nothing happening. I'm going to set the open, and we can then, if you said 4 millimeters, that would be 2 millimeters, 2 degrees of rotation. Because if I put 2 degrees and I look on this little incisal pin, we've got 0, okay, yeah, okay, that's 4, 2 and 4. So we need to see whether we've got enough space to do a splint, and it looks like we have enough space. Yeah, that's good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this keyframe, and we're going to set this in a new location for lower. So essentially what it's doing, it's going to set this and it deletes everything else. So now there's no articulation, okay? And here on the right hand side you can see it. Now we're going to move through this again. So we've permanently adjusted the lower. So I'm going to set the centric, but this time we're not going to open it because it is already open. I'm going to apply, and I'm going to then set protrusive, and we're going to pull this down a little bit. Okay, and we're going to apply this, and then we're going to do the excursive right, and here we're working with a Z value. Yeah, and of course we can see that it's occluding there. It's biting exactly in there in the excursive. So what we can do is we can open this a little bit just to make sure that we've got enough space for the splint layer. Okay, and so this is 1.8 and 2 minus 3. So this one goes across. Okay, and this one opens it up. So we're going to go across, and we've opened it up, just say 2. Okay, and then we're going to apply this, and we're going to do that. Then we're going to move to the other side. Yep, and we're going to then also say put 2 in there. Yeah, and then we're going to apply. So we finish with our articulator now. Okay, so in the articulator we can check it because this stays put. This one is working this way, that's all good. That one's working this way, it's all good. And the other one's working this way, it's all good. So we've completely finished with the articulator. We don't need to work on this now. So I set this in protrusive because when we're making a splint, it's quite good to see what we're doing. Now we're going to go to the blockout, because after articulating, even in the lab or surgery, you would then have to block it out, right? So we're going to go to the blockout module, and I'm going to select this one to block out. Okay, so it is already called lower, but I'll just flick this to lower because did you see what happens? The point of origin gets changed to this so that we can survey it nicely. Okay, then create the offset. I don't know what your offset is. Shall we leave it on default? All right, we're going to, okay, okay. So we're going to apply this offset. We'll wait for it and we're going to finish this. So this is our offset model. So if you've got a if you've got a material which is quite soft and flexible, you could stop here because you know you want the undercuts. But if your material is a little bit harder, whatever, then we can't do that. Like here, for example, you know, we've got a very mean undercut. So this is the offset model. So we're going to survey that, okay? And then we're going to just see a good path of withdrawal. And we can see over here on the lingual side of the molars, it's actually very undercut, yeah? I'm going to mark this, mark the lower, and then we've got a visual of actually what's going on here, okay? Now we've got a choice. We can go with the auto default models, which will give us the engaging model that we need, or we can run through the whole thing. So this is up to you. If you want me to teach you, we can do that, or we can go straight. Okay, so we're going to create passive model. Okay, we need that because the passive model we need to adjust and you know do the undercuts and so on. So we just wait for this to finish. This takes a few seconds. Are there any questions so far? Or is it okay? And I'm recording the session, so you can refer back to it later. Oh gosh, we're working very hard, but it's just growing and growing and growing. And now I've decided I want to be able to make thimbles. You know these thimbles in a wax up, yeah. So that if you want to make like a frame out of zirconia and you want thimbles like little miniature preps inside the teeth. So I'm taking this even further now. And yesterday I researched, you know, the red, the RED, you know, for smile line with all of the percentages and so on. Oh gosh, I've introduced that as well. Okay, so yeah, it is. So this is now, we are here and we can set the vox. This is auto, and the reason why I've got this, and it's a few more steps, and some people say, oh, but why can't you do a default, blah, 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 and run through it? But this is what the auto default button is for. And later in crown and bridge work, you'll see we have to remesh this at very, very fine. Okay. So this is the model that we use for implant, you know, implant guides because we don't want any, yeah. And then we're going to go adjust dynamic undercuts. So essentially what that's doing, it's taken a model and put it on the inside of this model because the offset is minus 0. This is always a negative value. So this essentially is a model inside of a model, if you know what I mean. So um, our default is minus 0.4, and maybe that's a bit tight. I don't know. So if your splints are tight, then you would adjust this one, okay? So you'll put it to minus 0.3. For this one, let's put it minus 0.3. And then we're going to apply this. So we're applying the orange model, yeah? And then we've got the opportunity to sculpt it. So if I click on Sculpt Undercuts, I can then decide, okay, well, here I can go on the plus sign here, and then we can add a little bit more, you know, just like we would in you know in the lab or whatever. We just add some more wax or you know, um, just to make. make sure that it's all nicely blocked out. And we can go negative if we want to. We can think, okay, let's make a bit more undercut here. Yeah. So this gives us an opportunity to shape these undercuts. Okay. So I'll just go Control Z backwards so that we can just get what we had beforehand. So I'm quite happy with this, because what it does now, it's going to join the orange model to the other model, and it's going to make our new model. So I'm going to create retentive model, and then this puts us back into the voxel remesh, and we're going to finish this. And this is the one that we actually want to work on. Okay, so this is the orange. We call it retentive model lower. Okay, so we don't want to slow Blender down. We're going to take these two and we're going to delete them. We don't need them. Okay, okay. So we're finished with the articulator, and we are finished with the BlockOut. Okay, now we're going to go to the splint. And in the splint, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to call this target model. Okay. Now it changes color, and you will see it's called target model. In the splint module, we're working with two objects mainly. We're working with a target model, which is our fitting surface, and we're working with a layer. Those are the two objects you need to concern yourself about. Okay. So so let us shift right click to place a cursor, and we're going to draw our line. Okay, so now we're going to decide, now this line, remember we have the lower model is animated. Okay, so yeah, that's correct. But now okay, where's what? No, the lower is here. The lower model is here. So if let me just, okay, I'll just go outside edit mode here. Okay, that's our lower. Okay, but the target model is, we need to link it. So I'm going to link that, and that moves with it. And our little line moves with it as well, which is good. Okay, and let us make our, so now we're going to decide how far down, where do you want your splint layer to end? Do you want it halfway on the teeth or on the gum? Yeah, so when you put it on the teeth, you always have to sort of know more or less, where the undercuts are, because we want this, we want this to engage. If we put it up halfway, it'll be loose in the patient's mouth, right? So we don't want that. So we want to, I would probably recommend we get it as much retention as what we can, and then we can always go up here if you want to. Yeah. So let's just take this up here. Now it's important when you're drawing this line so that you put enough vertices into proximately, because otherwise it's, it may not cut properly. Yeah, okay. So here we can clearly see where the undercut is blocked out. Okay. Now, obviously we want to engage undercut. So if I take it up top here, we're not engaging undercut, which means anytime we don't engage, it's going to be loose. Okay. So I'm going to try and engage the undercut like that. And we're going to take this over all the way. Here again, we can see where the undercut is. I'm going to just sort of follow that line. Okay. And up here like that. Maybe we can come down a bit here. And the other thing we always have to make sure is that we save our work. Otherwise, it's, something could go wrong, and then all that hard work, it, yeah, exactly. So, okay, so we've got it like this. Okay, are there any questions so far, or are we all okay so far? Okay, so let us save this. Okay, this is on my computer, so I'll just save this as Mike again. Okay, save. All right. So now we're going to cut this. So we've done the layer and we're going to trim this. So this is like the arch cutting tool, basically. Select avert and clean that. If it doesn't cut, go back, and then somewhere along the line it didn't cut. Okay, so note that it's still called layer on everywhere, and we're going to now make the layer, and this layer doesn't look so good. It is 4 millimeters, which is 2 millimeters inside and 2 millimeters outside. Okay, so always double it. In wireframe mode we can actually see as well. We're going to accept this layer, and then we'll just give it a quick smooth over. Okay, and that's basically because we want to get we want to have a nice clean mesh structure. Okay, so this is like a solidify modifier that's been applied, and it's not really that good. So after that, you can always look at the tool tips at the bottom. It says then exit if you do get lost. Okay, and then we're going to finish this, and we'll save this again. Save. Okay, we're going to have a look at the top now, Alt H, and we can move. So this is not moving. I can link this link, and we'll be able to move this. Now, do you want to have, well, if we have it disengaged, we may be missing a little bit of material. I don't know whether you just want a layer, or do you want us to put a bit of material like a rim, a bite block rim. Yeah. All right. So we don't have to go all the way back. So I mean, if we analyze this, it's only going to be maybe from this premolar. Yeah. So what we'll do is we're going to click it, shift right click to place it, and we're going to go to our occlusal rims, and we're going to draw the line. Now make sure that it goes with it as well, okay, which it does. Then we're going to extrude it, and I'm going to put it like this somewhere, okay, and we're going to extrude this outwards. Now we don't have much space there, but hopefully our articulator is going to get rid of some material. So here we're going to go all the way. Like, no. Yeah, I sort of briefly saw it. What was that about? Is that like, wow, can you imagine that, eh? Oh yeah, really? Wow, that's amazing. That's so amazing. Okay, I'm going to click on make single rim, and now it's extruded downwards. I'm going to just pull it upwards. Okay, and we're going to just make it sort of number 1 or number 2 we're going to add a little bit of material. So we're not adding much. Okay, so maybe up like that. We don't want to intersect it because we're going to be intersecting there. So I'm going to pull it up a little bit just to make sure it's not intersecting there. And the teeth look quite deep as well, which, but once we move it out, should be okay. So what I'll do is I'll unify this to the layer. Okay, so that'll unify it. That's good. And then we can again, if we want to, we can give it a quick smooth over, something like that. So here, all we're trying to do is get nice clean meshes if we can, and then exit and finish. Okay, and then we're going to do the cuts. But okay, so it's emerging quite deep. Can you see? So we can use a additional cutter, the Occlusal Plane cutter, to get rid of some of the depth of all of this. Yeah. So okay, so maybe we should do it. It's probably better for me to show you as well how it works. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to select model for plane. Yeah, I'll click on that, and then what I'll do is I'm going to go shift right click, and then we're going to draw the plane, and I'll put these on the incisal tips like this, something like that, So no, this is fine. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to make a occlusal plane, and basically what we're doing is we're just creating a cutting tool. Yeah, so this cutting tool is, we can it'll cut the occlusal plane. Yeah, so you don't always have to do this, but in this case, we've got a very deep bite block, and so this is it sort of creates a cutting tool. So when I'm done with that, I'm going to click on tool. Yeah, so this tool is then able to cut this bite block, this rim. Okay, so it's a very tricky situation because your teeth are going like really up, up like that. But anyway, so I'll just take this, and we're going to then select it like that. Let's have another look at it. I'm going to be using Alt B just to have a look through the model, and we'll just something like, of course we want it to bite onto the, yeah, okay, let's do it like that, and then we're going to click on cut layer. Yeah, so it's cut it, and now what we need to do is we need to take this and delete it, delete objects. I'll just go X delete and X delete. Yeah, so we've got it basically cut according to the occlusal plane. So okay, are there any questions related to, I mean, this is a very difficult tutorial. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, this is, you wouldn't usually use this occlusal plane cutter, but because your mandible is shaped like a, like a curve like this, it makes it a little bit more complicated. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I'll do now is we're going to go to the articulator, and we're going to cut this. So this is the object that's going to be making the cut. and we're going to apply this little offset there. Actually, Blender 2.91 has the most amazing Boolean cutting tool now. It's just amazing. So that's going to be exciting, because with the Articulator we've got 13 cuts, but with the new Blender 2.91 we can make as many cuts as we like, which is absolutely good news. Yeah. Yeah, but this new Boolean cutting tool is just the most amazing thing I've actually seen in Blender. It's just incredible. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is the object being cut. All right, and let's trim it. Cut all movements. Geez, I don't know. No, I've got just a standard 1060 graphics card. Yeah. So actually we've got a very nice, can you see? Now if we didn't use that other cutting plane, then this would be like very, very deep. So I'm actually quite happy with this result so far. So look, we can print it like that, or we can give it a quick smooth. So in the splint, I'm going to go in the smooth, but this time around I'm going to be setting this at 0.05, which is very, very fine, okay? Because I don't want to get rid of all that hard work and the cuts that we've done beforehand. So just give it a quick smooth like that. That's good. And along the edges, we can set that at 0.3. Yeah, so we can take that and we can just put it down. So I mean, this is like really in depth. If you're doing this by yourself, it's a little bit different, you know. Okay, so I think we got ourselves a nice splint. Okay, it's looking very, very good. So I'm going to exit, and then when we exit, it'll smooth it a little bit more. Not much, but a little bit more. So we can set this at 0.3 if we want to. I will save this again, file save. And note, Peter, that this is called object being cut, you see? Object being cut. This needs to be called layer. Remember at the beginning I said we need the target model and we need the layer. So in the cutting tools here, I'm just going to call it name layer, and then we can cut the fitting surface. Okay. Okay, so that's been cut, and I'll just hide and just see what we've got. Yep, that's nice. That's looking very nice. Okay, and that sort of completes it.